everybody, hi, my name is Awi Rafael and welcome to my first ever podcast series, the Alchemist podcast. If you guys notice, I'm here with two very special guests. But for now, before I begin the podcast, I would like to share a little bit about what the Alchemist podcast is all about. Alchemist podcast was inspired by a little book that I read 20 years ago, which has still affected me and is still vital to my philosophy in life today. The Alchemist is written by Paolo Coelho. I really love reading, and Paolo Coelho is a really good author, and somehow or another, the popular book, The Alchemist, really inspired me. I thought, why not to create a podcast where we talk about our personal legends, something that is written and talked about within the book. What about us talking with successful people that has achieved their dreams and go deeper into the human soul, and how were they able to manifest their dreams? How were they able to affirm the success that they have? So in a nutshell, that is something that I really want to contribute towards the whole podcast industry, something a bit more spiritual, something a little bit more heartfelt, yet informative. So for today, I would like to present to you two special guests, two special gentlemen, my friends. On my left, firstly, without introducing the guests first, I would like to introduce to you my co-host, my brother, my bandmate in my upcoming band called Casablanca, and also the co-managing director of his own company, AI Genesis. I would like to present to you Mr. Nicholas.
Thank you so much for the help.
Nicholas, my brother. How you doing, man? You doing okay?
Doing good.
First time ever in a podcast. So, Nick, you doing okay?
I'm doing okay.
You're doing all right. Yeah, we're going to chat a little bit more with Nicholas, my co-host right here. But the main highlight of the day, my friends, the Alchemist himself. I would like to refer to all my special guests as the Alchemist because they manage to manifest success that I really respect. Guys, I would like to present to you our senior Minister of State for Manpower, for Defense, and right now the advisor for Marsiling Division, a politician, but somehow I really feel his caring aura and his authentic self. I'd like to present to you Mr. Zaqy bin Mohamad.
Hi everyone.
Sir, how are you, sir?
Salam. Thank
Salam,
you.
sir. Have a good you are doing okay?
I thought you were the Alchemist when you invited me here.
No, that's where the trick is, sir.
The Alchemist was you, I thought.
That is where the trick is. I am just I'm just the guide here, trying to find real answers, trying to find guide from the Alchemist, who is the guest. So Nicholas is my dear friend over here. So it's his first time also in a podcast. He was really shy and he didn't really want to step into the media world.
Don't worry. Same boat.
Same boat. But I just wanted to share that because I'm really proud of you, Nick, because it really also proves to me and to everybody that, hey, sometimes you got to step outside our comfort zone, right? So let's get to know more about Mr. Zaqy, shall we? You know, there's a lot of podcasts going on, and most of it is really fun, gimmicky. There's a lot of, I really love all that stuff. But, sir, for today, I want you to go a little bit deeper.
Sure.
I really want for you to share some of your secrets. Yeah, some of your life lessons.
How do you have secrets of politicians?
We wouldn't know. That's one of the things that I wanted to share with you. Like, I am very intrigued. Because from my way of life, it was music. I studied law,
right,
and then very interested in psychology.
Yes.
But I told Nick yesterday, I've never thought about politician, right?
Yeah.
How did he do it? How did he get into the industry? I have no inkling. I really don't. But I really respect that because it's a lot of responsibility.
It is.
Mr. Zaqy, can you please share? How did you first started? What was your background?
Yeah.
We want to know a little bit more about you. Deeper.
Well, I suppose in Wikipedia you can find it, but just joking.
Yeah, I know. I found it. I googled it.
But for me it was not so much something I manifested or something I looked to, because I spent years in the private sector.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my background. I was in tech. I was doing consulting work over a period of time, and mostly working for MNCs throughout my career. And so when I had the opportunity to become an MP when I was just 31, I went for my first interview at 29. So the way PAP works is slightly different in the sense that they do pick out people they think could be potential candidates.
Understand.
And therefore I went through the T sessions, and interestingly, I didn't think I was ready. My question to my interviewer was, why me? Because I was just 29 when they was first interviewed, and I said, 4 years out of school, people going to say this guy doesn't know anything. He's just out of school. I said I wouldn't vote for myself either. So I said, why would anyone vote for me? Because I wouldn't vote for myself. But lo and behold, at 31, I became an MP. But in Singapore, for MPs, many of us are also holding jobs outside. So I was in the private sector as well as an MP. And to me, I managed to rationalize it because it was not something you thought you'd be in. But at the same time, I saw it as national service.
I understand.
National
But
service.
you were still young at the time, right?
Yes,
Technically.
and and my kids were still young.
Wow.
So I had just two kids then, and they were still young, and it was quite a challenge to try to manage a career, a family, and then politics.
Politician.
But I rationalize it as some people do go out there to do social work, community service. But I suppose an MP goes a bit more than that because you're also a lawmaker.
Yeah.
So you have the caring aspect, which I do like and I enjoy. That's like why I do it every week. Going down the ground, talking to people. If you know me, I'm generally one who's. I would prefer if I had my choice, just lock me at home. I'll be happy. Just stay at home, watch TV, chill. Home guy, homebody. Or two, be off in some beach somewhere. Don't look for me. I'm the chill or home guy. Either one of those two things, But going out, meeting people was not something in my DNA. It's not something I enjoy. But if you say community service, helping people in need, yes. But I always get reminded, but you're not just a social worker. You have to do lawmaking. So that part of the policy aspect, I think, got me interested over a while.
Correct.
So I only joined cabinet in 2018. That's after. Then with that, I have to quit my private sector job.
Private, yeah.
So my last role was in
yeah.
EY. Some know it is Ernst & Young, and I had left and joined cabinet. And that was the first time I went full time in. And that basically, I think, was the biggest jump for me. Because that basically means you leave all your career behind. It's no longer not just national service anymore. Now you're full on head on.
Yeah, 100%
It's your responsibility too now. So it's slightly different, but I do think that there is simply scope for Singaporeans or even Malaysians who wish to do good in their countries and who think that they can make a difference. And it's really for the people. I don't manifest it in a way that when we talk about personal legends, Paolo Coelho, it's not so much my dream or my ambition or my aspiration. I think that's slightly different here. It's really about what difference can you make, and that to me, I think drives me. That's the thing. What's the difference? Because if I cannot value it, then I think better get off the boat. That's the way I look at it, and I suppose that's also because coming from the private sector, that's how we think. You're a businessman, you know this. But you have to value it to customers, you have to value it to the stakeholders. Otherwise, it's going to be people wondering why you're there. But you're wasting our time. So certainly the nature of politics has changed. But at the end of the day, I think the question is, what keeps you there? What holds you? The tide can sometimes hit you as well, and opinions can sometimes shift. But it's really about how to try to manage the different stakeholders, different interests. But ultimately, the end goal is, does this benefit the people? I think that has to be the key consideration. And to me, that continues to be
the main
that
compass.
So I'm not sure whether personal legend applies here, but I don't know, maybe it's a legend for the community or a legend for the nation. I don't know, it's around there. But I also noticed the way the when you pick the title Alchemist, there was some theories I had why you picked it. One,
okay, you want to share with me? Why not?
Paolo Coelho was I was reading up on him because I read the book as well years ago. Years ago.
Yeah.
That was like more than 10 years ago.
Correct.
So I can't remember the details, but if I wasn't wrong, he was a lyricist.
Correct.
Right, just like you. So he's got music background just like you. So
Right,
I thought that was the I thought that was a commonality, and he found his personality as a writer.
Correct.
So he found something that he enjoyed, got great success, and to me, I think that I don't find similarities in that sense. I don't see my journey, where I am today as a success per se. It's really to me, journey is yes. It's a journey where we're all trying to seek a better Singapore, better community, to find ways in which we can pick good ideas from anywhere, from the ground, from others, from people, and see how best we can implement good policies. That's one area out. And secondly, I think if you look at the ground, areas like Marsiling, for example, we've got
this is your area, right, Marsiling.
We have some of the largest populations of low-income families.
Okay.
In fact, we are probably number one top users of Comcare, which is social assistance in Singapore.
I understand.
And we do quite a lot of work to help families in need.
Okay.
So it's not an easy task, but what's been heartening is how one can pull stakeholders, people who want to do good, people who want to help others. And sometimes from time to time I see them walking around the blocks. Hey, you know what you guys doing here? Oh, we're just hanging out with low-income residents, giving them food, give them makan, and give them food time. I say, okay, that's not bad.
That's really nice.
People from all walks of life coming over doing things. I mean, of course, we do our programs like Marsiling Cares, which provides groceries and food for about 2,000 families every month. No small feat, but I think more importantly, it's also wonderful to see Singaporeans of all walks of life coming to try to help. And to me, that I think is one way to strengthen the community and I think the nation.
Great sharings. I think that is part of his personal legend, which is to ensure that those in need will get the help that they deserve, and he's just being there as a guide, being really humble all about it, mate. Before I pass it over to
the
Nicholas.
second theory I had was
second theory, Alchemist. I want to go for it.
Was something Taylor Swift used in the folklore.
I see. You have a song, right? Totally, right? Yeah.
Because when I say, talk about magic, alchemy is the other way. I'm like, okay, that's interesting chemistry.
I think it's all about that, man. It's all about having an aura and energy about ourselves that each of us has, and you have yours. You see, I'd like to just share. There's one striking image that I always remember ever since I saw it. Recently, we were giving supplies and help to our friends in Gaza and all that. So I saw that. I saw you there in front of the aircraft. You were all geared up, and that was you putting a different hat. That was you as part of the Ministry of Defense. So you can see Mr. Zaqy has a lot of hats that he's wearing. You see.
Yeah.
Personnel in Marsiling Division, and now it's a national scale, and he's there, mate. In front of all the aircrafts and all that, and I'm so proud of you, man. You want to share a little bit more about, like how does that work? Like, you're doing Minister of State. As I said, we don't really understand. We know that he's a top guy. That's all. You know what I mean, right? So how does this work? There's so many things you got to do, man. It's like, wow. Well, you want to share, how did you manage to,
It's it was something we wanted to do as a country. I mean, we've been giving out aid through different channels. Egypt through the Rafah channels. Then coming through, then the opportunity came about to deliver aid through airdrops.
Correct.
And therefore, under the invitation of the Jordanian Kingdom, we took the opportunity to do so. And And actually, I'm quite heartened. It's not about me. I basically just accompanied the team there, largely to lend them support because what they're doing, well, to us we see it as delivering of aid, but actually they were operating in a conflict zone. Most didn't quite realize that, but they operate in a conflict zone. There is certain danger out there. You have military personnel going on your C-130s right into Gaza and doing airdrops, and certainly at that point in time there were also concerns about safety, whether the airdrops were falling on people or whether they would land the safety or whether they get. But I think at that point in time, back then, it was I think needed. Because it was Ramadan, we just went to Ramadan, and there's a lot of feeling sentiments here, and it was wonderful that we had many organizations from Singapore. So for us, we said, to me it's like amanah, because we have many organizations, humanitarian NGOs who give us good supplies to take to our those affected by the conflict. And being Ramadan season, this was an opportunity to help them and deliver direct. Of course, some asked why airdrop, and certainly not all the land passageways were accessible because of the conflict going on, but the airdrop gave us a chance to drop it right in the center, in the middle of where you go see the most.
It's really nice.
So one thing I was quite heartened was, if you talk to the servicemen, and the commanders, they were not short of volunteers. I think there were many of our crew who said they want to do it. At the same time, when we signal and ask about NGOs in Singapore, those who wish to contribute and donate, there were many who came up and put their hands up and gathered food supplies and things that we could deliver by airdrop. I think it was wonderful. It was more than what we expected, and certainly that was I think a very meaningful experience. And our teams continued, and alhamdulillah, they all came back safely. So to me, sometimes when we do such operations, I think it's really meaningful to show how Singapore is a compassionate society too, country that cares, people that cares, and certainly no matter what others say, I think it's really about showing, and I think action speaks for itself.
Correct, sir. Never been prouder to be a Singaporean, mate.
Of course.
Any other experiences other than I'm sure that was one heck of a memory, right? Any other experiences in your professional career life that probably stick out for you? I have mine, like I'm sure you have yours. Like just stick out for you, You would like to share?
I thought, well, at least politically, COVID was a tough one.
I understand.
COVID was a tough one. The early days of COVID was. Something that we may not remember or recall fondly.
It feels like a fever dream.
It's a bad dream, But yes, the early days we didn't have vaccines at that point in time. So every time you were in a COVID zone, you're always doubly concerned because you never know whether you end up in hospital severely ill. And at that point, in the early months, we were grappling with a lot of the outbreaks in the dormitories, migrant workers.
Especially Marsiling as well.
So being in MOM, we were overseeing many of the dorms. So some of the things that we did early was to go down on the ground, visit the dorms, give our migrant workers confidence, give our NGOs confidence, because we did have many NGOs that were working with migrant workers, and they too were concerned about the well-being. And of course, we had PMD at that time saying Singapore will take care of all migrant workers and we'll feed them and we will care for them as though we care for our own citizens too. I think that was a strong signal, and I had to host many of our international partners as well to show that actually, for many their citizens are migrant workers here. So we had to host them and show them, okay, we're treating them well. You have to not worry about how they are in Singapore, because there's always concern, how countries may not treat others or their own citizens.
Correct.
For us, I think the care was there, and of course early part was messy because you have to displace people. They were so used to sleeping, let's say 10, 12, 15 in the bunk, and all of a sudden you have to say, you're going to space out. And therefore there's not enough space. Food was a issue, and of course if you had months or years to plan for this, but we didn't have. So we were like working overnight, calling, doing con calls at 2 a.m. in the morning. But more importantly, every time we visited a dorm, everyone was like worried. I had staff who told me that their wives said, "Hey, don't come home tonight. You guys stay in hotel first." So there was a lot of fear in the early days.
Understand.
But of course, until we had the vaccine, then
Yep.
it's changed. Now to us, okay, you kena lah.
Yeah.
The vaccine's
That's
all there.
okay. Yeah.
So, but back then there was real fear, and
course,
and you see what's going on out in Europe and all that. With fatalities and deaths, I think it's something that we all very afraid. So I thought that was a period in which we have to thank many who came forward, whether they're healthcare workers. I think we had many. The healthcare sector for them they had the SARS experience, but that also meant certain amount of PTSD. And you're very afraid when you see how bad you can get.
What happened there?
And they were overloaded sometimes, and we try to do our part on our side so they don't get overloaded. But of course, there were other things we had to do in that period of time. But that was, I think, to me, one of the most challenging periods. Not too long ago.
Yeah, it's memorable.
Memorable,
for you, right?
and that led on to something else which we did in MOM. So because of a lot of the circuit breaker, in which many had to stay at home, and the work continued with essential workers, not just migrant workers, and that put a spotlight on their wages, salaries. Are they appreciated enough?
Understand.
Are we paying them enough?
Yeah.
And that was when in 2021 we also expanded on progressive wages, and that was the right thing to do, because the concerns employers had at the time was, we are already in an economy downturn, business doing well, asking us to raise wages. Are you guys crazy? So
there's some pushback.
So we had
from
to
there,
get pushback, and we had to meet people and say, no, this is the right thing to do. And back then, and back again to what I say, it's about how do you uplift society, to tell our employers that, and actually, to be fair, many of them bought into this, because we're not talking about dollars and cents. We said, before we talk about that, let's go back to this fundamental question: is a society where you see a divide or income divide good? And you see many countries where the divide gets wider. You see instability. You see a lot of unhappiness. And is such a situation good, or do you think that will destabilize and therefore your business will be affected?
Right.
So I think when many of them understood that perspective, then the buy-in came. That yes, we can do better. But now, so when we look at the lowest 10 paying sectors, we realize many of them are actually domestic. So if you were international facing, say you're doing logistics, or you're doing cargo at airports, or even banks and all that, you are international facing, so you get international benchmark wages. But when you're domestic facing, for example, you're doing cleaning, security, because things that we consume, there's always pressure by locals to say, hey, actually I want cheap and good.
Of course, and fast.
And fast. Cheap, good and fast. So therefore, you realize that actually for many of our low wage workers, they had lower salaries, but it was also because Singaporeans had a bit of a wage pressure, and because you want it cheap lah. So for example, some ask me, hey, how come the cleaner wipes the table at the hawker centre only earns like $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, and and then the hawker only earns this much. But I say when you pay $2 or $3 for chicken rice, this is
scale.
How do you pay this person more? And therefore, it comes to perspective. Actually, when you have it cheap and good, the earning income of the person also gets lower. So we have to then rethink some parts of that. Maybe have to recalibrate. It basically means that today government provides workfare, so we boost up their incomes. We help them with CPF. We help them with grants and everything else. But the public has a role to play as well. So we must be prepared to put in our part also to support them. So for some of these areas like F&B, retail, media not yet, not in the category. but there are others like security and all that. I think we have to do that, because otherwise every time you have like condo management, you want to do AGM, every time you ask new contract, cheaper and all that. So I said nothing wrong with that, because you always want value for money, but don't overdo it that our workers are affected. And to me, that was also one key breakthrough that we had, that we managed to cover what used to be just 15% under progressive wages of our low-wage workers, now we have 90% coverage. So basically most of them are covered under many of these. So of course we widened the number of sectors that we covered. We widened the initiatives, whether it's LQS and others. So we made policy changes to effectively support that. But at the same time, because we have to find a win-win now, because at the same time it was COVID. And it was quite amazing that businesses bought into this. And they saw
big picture.
This was essential workers. We owe it to them during COVID. Two, yes, the business are affected, but government came in to give you transition. But overall, there's a social element there.
Understand.
Of course. The social justice element. If you understood that and you realize, I want to build a cohesive society, this is it.
You have to understand
And
that.
of course, Prime Minister, then PMD, then announced it nationally rally, so we went with it. So I think that was one of the most meaningful things, because it meant that many low-income Singaporeans actually got better salaries for their families. And to me, if we had not done that, I think today, with inflation post-COVID, I think they would have suffered.
Very difficult.
So we were quite fortunate that we did this before while COVID was on. And now, at least with inflation, well, I'm not saying the situation is perfect. I'm not saying incomes are perfect, but I think many of them are able to cope better now compared to if they hadn't had the wage increases. So I'm just thankful for some of these moves that we were able to do during COVID.
I think it's really amazing. Guys, hearing all these stories and all these law-making policies which really affect the everyday man in Singapore. So we're going to take a very short break, and then we're going to learn more about the spirit of learning, as well as let's go a little bit deeper and get to know Mr. Zaqy and more of his family side.
Oh man,
he was growing up, man. Let's see and learn more about our dear Alchemist over here. See you guys.
I'm Felicia, and I'm a branch manager in the financial industry. In terms of my experience with TMA, so far I'm really enjoying it because I realized that there are a lot of skills that I get to learn here. It is very systematic. I get to learn the gaps in terms of my singing that I've never knew before. And this is definitely important for me to be a better singer. With TMA, I also have opportunities to perform. I like Awi because he is also very personable. He's able to relate to me. He's just very friendly as well, and he has a lot of experience under his belt. And I'm very grateful to be able to just learn from him.
The Alchemist podcast, on part 1, you guys have heard the other side of Mr. Zaqy. Now, let's go a little bit deeper. And I think this is something that I can sense from Mr. Zaqy himself, which is about learning, about curiosity. So, and also I want to ask him more about his growing up years, the formative years, right? People always see the rock star when they're the rock star now. But I want to learn about his, prior to that. But maybe Nick, I'm going to pass it over to Nick to talk about what's the question you wanted to ask Mr. Zaqy then.
I think we talked about, touched a little bit about it just now, about helping Singaporean citizens during COVID and helping them with with income and stuff like that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about learning and development, and since I know that you're also involved with workforce development, I wanted to ask how much do you believe that continuous learning and development is important for people's improvement? And
Well, I think I buy into this because I've seen how, coming from industry, outside, I mean, to see how industry changed very quickly. Very fast. There are jobs that were here 10 years ago and no longer here. In the old days, you have secretaries, you have PAs, you have secretaries. This is service line, you can pass your phone number, So there are a lot of jobs because of technology are going. And there was a time when we were dealing with banks and organizations with the top middle managers reporting. And we looked at statistics, for example, overseas. Actually, a lot of the job loss was not because of the rhetoric of there sometimes is, foreigners can't take the job and all that. Yes, there is immigration. But at the same time, also in many countries, when we did studies, actually many of the jobs we lost because of automation. So there were a lot of things that we were able to do manually in the past. For example, reporting, there were a lot of managers, middle managers, and today there's no reporters, the boss gets report on computer. So we have to reskill many of our workforce, and I see that happening. I've seen at the same time how the industry has shifted. So in the past, it was just people saying, oh, I have a degree, so therefore I deserve to be X. These days, I think with certain sectors, especially like growth sectors, technology, even finance, trading, some of these areas, you take away the doctors, I know that.
Of course.
So very skills. But many of the skills, even for coding and all that, you do not need a degree to do coding. You can have anyone pick it up and then, okay, like people have to pick.
Yeah.
And you're good to go and you can pick quite very well in those sectors. So we see a dichotomy, we see shifts in the market. And therefore, what it shows is that there are things that will happen to us a lot quicker and you cannot imagine. At the same time as well, opportunities come up. Therefore, you need to find ways to shape it. But that also means that you need to find ways to lifelong learn and new things and new ways of doing things.
You constantly just keep evolving.
Keep evolving. But that also puts stress on people. Therefore, today we talk about things like mental health, stress factors, the assurance that we used to have is no longer there. Also easy. So I said the odd thing is that today, especially for white collar jobs, knowledge-based workers, in the old days, when you talk about retrenchment, it's typically the blue collar jobs, the
Understand.
Today, I find that more and more on the...
It's the opposite.
Because they are the ones who can be... They're just be automated. Just go here. Today, tomorrow you qualify, you just generate the eye of me, now you're sitting here.
I did not come here.
That was me on... I both on the podcast. And I joke that sometimes the guys who are not being safe, job-wise, and the plumber and the technician, because they're all going to be...
Yeah, cannot physically, not yet.
All of us will cannot at some point.
Skill programs,
yes. And therefore, it's really about how we have a change in mindset. Being able to harness technology, being able to use it to help us work better. And I think the way to manage it and hopefully less stressful to leverage on things like AI and automation, because that helps. So I give you an example, even a simple thing like, I was at an event recently and out of the blue the host sort of like started the whole thing with a pantone. People like, my God, then he challenged me, maybe I get the GOH to later balas my pantone. I go, crap. How do I reply the pantone? So I took out my create a pantone on this team and this team. Now the reply based on what he said. Then got it, good. Okay, I went up there confident I can balas pantone. It's a nice my skill. But I think this is a light-hearted story. On the more serious note, I mean, it helps give us things, skills that we never had. So it's really about the skill of using technology to help us in our work. So last night I was just teasing one of my staff, because they were 2 minutes in the meeting. I said, you know what, this app called, you can just take people's recording and they'll just write minutes for you.
You just go to wayang. You really do that.
Hey, I can see that.
Right, to show you that you're going to do your work. I get it.
So I think it's that. So whether you are a professional, whether you're new and all that, I think there's scope for us to use what we used to call work smarter.
Of course.
Still very relevant. So it's about lifelong learning, but lifelong learning to work smarter. I think that works as well.
Of course.
And to me, that's one way. But I do worry for one group. These are older, less educated. They've been in jobs for maybe 30 years, and now suddenly telling them, hey, you know what? Whatever you learn, I think you're not relevant. To shift to a new sector. And that's where you talk about workforce Singapore today. What do we do? So we used to do things like job matching, which is still relevant because, especially COVID, people lost jobs.
I see.
But what we realize is that as you come out of COVID, many of the jobs are different. So therefore, you will come from a sector like oil and gas, where with sustainability and all that, you realize that it's not doing the same kind of business that you used to do, and you don't invest in people in that space. So you find people to use transit. But if you've been working oil and gas for 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
engineer, mechanical engineer, how do you transit into this new world? What can you do? Okay lah, you can cook, you can go F&B, become a chef.
Of course.
Some can.
Yeah.
Some can do home business. But professionals, some they feel, oh, I have worked all my life to do this, and how do I transition? And that's where we need to do things. One is, I think that pathways are the difficult part is change management. How do you facilitate careers? How do you help with mindset shifts? Because as you move from sector to this sector, I may not necessarily, you may not get paid the same. But when you start growing, when you start growing and get experience, therefore you are
Start again.
So while you may not necessarily start from the bottom, I usually recommend thinking about transferable skills. So I give you an example. I was a chef in my neck, in his 50s, used to be quality engineer, one of the colleagues or one of the best sectors. And he lost his job. And somehow interestingly, he managed to facilitate finding a job in 3D printing.
3D printing? Wow.
And you will wonder how does someone just go to 3D printing? Right? And that's where look at Opal Singapore. It's out because they're able to look at transferable skills because you are doing quality assurance, safety. But for 3D printing, the machine plant, some of these transferable skills are also it's a different set of, I suppose, in different industry, different technology. But the base transferable skills is still there. It's still the quality management and still need these kind of skills.
Of course.
And therefore, when you do that, okay lah. There was a bit of a hit initially, but I think after they go, but it's really about having that attitude.
Yeah, and the mindset shift.
Mindset shift.
Yeah.
Openness as well.
That is the challenge. And for someone at that age, I can fully understand because sometimes you have family commitments, you have home lifestyle, then suddenly you pick up Manpower, you know. So it's tough. But the fear of learning is one, and one thing we're trying to get more companies on board, and this year NTUC is doing quite a bit of work, is try to get companies to transform and help them facilitate job transfers and this job facilitation, job matches. And this is where there's training on the ground, there's facilitation. But I think that's the difference in Singapore's approach versus a lot of other countries where I feel like those jobs are very fine.
Of course. There's something really.
But I think we have an advantage being a small country.
A little bit more easier.
So that was an advice I got, when I had the current president, President Tana, talking about progressive wages. So there's a lot of things to do. He says, a small country finding people, it's okay, only systems can handle. So,
You're the man for the job. So
you're a small country, just remember that. You can do a lot of things. So sometimes we think about big countries.
Yeah, it's like how.
A small country, there's a lot of things that we can do that others can't. Therefore, if we think in those terms, it's not like I'm a big country where I got to buy in some state somewhere and then in some other place. So there are things that we can do. And that's what makes us special. And possibilities. I think it's just a matter of imagination.
On different policies from different countries.
Of course.
Nick have been to the States, Australia as well, myself as well. I was 2 years in Australia. And for them, they do have a different mindset. They do the handouts to the citizens.
Yeah.
What do they call it? It's every month, right? They will receive. Citizens.
What was that called? Yeah, I
will receive.
The
$600
payout. Yeah.
$500. I was busking there. So I don't want to share, but these are friends of mine. They're busking as well. But they just didn't want to work. It's like, dude, I'm gonna get my $600. I'm gonna do my bit of busking. I'm good. So for me as a Singaporean, even back then, I was like, oh, we have a different way of thinking. For us is, you'll get what you deserve, from CPF or whatever. You've got to work. From our legendary Lee Kuan Yew, right? You want success,
you have to
work for it. And Singapore is fair. There's no favoritism. Everything is all up to you. I remember that growing up. So I think we all have a different, unique selling point. Singaporeans should be really, really proud of. Sir, these are all amazing stuff you're sharing. Lots of policies, lots of what your professional work life is doing. Let's go with personal. Growing up. Growing up. Obviously, you can see very successful. Eloquent gentleman over here. How did that relate up to this? You know, when you were growing up, did you ever think that, you know, your mom and dad want to share? How's the upbringing that probably contribute to this?
I'm not sure. I think it's the other way around. I think just what you said, exactly on the case.
The black sheep of the family. You never know. Yeah, I was one of that. Yeah.
So, in class, you're the last guy you would expect to join politics.
Sat at the back and everything.
But growing up,
you guessed it, sat at the back. I didn't know homework.
But there you go. Right?
So there are a lot of funny stories in school, and some of my classmates go like, oh, you know, hey, you don't joke anymore. Is it because there are people around you? I said, no, you know, now this is very serious. Really consume everything. So politics has changed a lot of us, you know, in terms of you know, being that guy who plays pranks on people, you know, you can contain class, sit behind, and then teachers will scold you. I used to like, I still do actually. It's in my report card. This handwriting is really bad. I don't know his rights. Or it's box lunch in class. You can find it out in my report card. So yes, although on paper it looks okay, you know, coming from Raffles and all that, but you know, the background, I think we're all quite grateful as kids.
So you studied the Raffles, mom and dad, you know, who are you more closer to? Any advice that they give you that contribute to who you are?
I think one thing I value from my parents was that they gave me a lot of space. They were not really, I mean, maybe early years in primary school, you get a lot of, like, you know, and then CCAs you get to, but once I went to secondary school, it was quite free and easy. In the sense that space enabled me to try out a lot of things.
Explore
doing 4-5 CCAs at one time.
Trying things out.
Yes, trying things out. So for example, I was in sports.
Okay.
So that one was, you know, because when you're schooling, you train almost all the time.
Yeah.
I was doing music.
There you go.
So parents put me through piano class.
Hey, see, we can piano.
I did. I stopped after school. So the way I got my grade 8, I done
Very good.
So I was classical trained up to grade 8.
Understand.
In school, and so it was very odd sometimes when, you know, you go to. So when I first went to JC, I remember when I told my rugby coach I'm going to go, and he says why. The piano class, he looks at me like,
You're so talented.
How the heck do you
attacking people,
something wrong with you. So yes, you're like, what? And I was also doing, you know, theatres plays as music director. So there were a lot of these, I think, NCC as well.
Wow.
So I tried a lot of things, you know, for several years, and so those were me laying around and therefore you wonder wherever I've got time to study. And these days, you know, sometimes I look at the kids today, I think they're a lot more serious about their studies. My kids also, especially. So sometimes I go to them and say, hey, why is that so hard? You know, so A-levels, I was playing around. Why you want to study so hard? So I'm like the opposite of the parent. Something wrong with this guy.
Take a break.
They themselves realize that it's important.
What's wrong with you? You know, I'm telling you to go and slack off. Why is that so hard? But yes, but to me, I think it's about trying to balance. I say, as long as you can deliver the result, I don't care if you're going to play and whatever. So I take that approach. As long as the result is okay, not too bad. You're not flunking out, you play.
You know, you identify your own children are taking their own initiative.
I sort of subscribe to that in the sense that the University of Life. Going out there, learn things, hang out, and answer the real world. So I had one of my sons when he was, I think, O levels. My wife found him like, you know, he found a job, soup spoon. He told us, you doing part-time at school. Then I was like, why, you know, my son's not working, you know, in this kind of job. Why he go and struggle so hard? Now he can
Okay, kick job.
but it's good lah. Actually can learn the hard knocks and how to kena scold at people. That's so easy, go and tahan. But these are hard knocks of life, you can try. You know? So things I do, because I you know, we and my wife, we both, although we both from the same school, but we also went to do our own part-time in our own time lah. So for us, we understood. Of course, now your parents, people are like, hey, my kids all Chinese.
Yes.
But the reality is that I did some of these gig works as well. So as you can see that, I stick out flyers at Malaysia.
Flyers,
I used to stock flyers in letterboxes in the malls, and I can tell you where these letterboxes are today for the first ones. And I go tell you where these are for the security guard. The security guard says, hey, this guy's stocking stuff.
That he gets even to senior minister. There you go. All the things. The knocks of life.
So I do subscribe, and when people tell me, I do side you fine, okay, because this is part and parcel of life. And I think we should just give them space. Yeah, you want them to do well in school, they're doing okay, but do try different things.
A little bit of advice for, you know, the generation before us, a bit younger, who is, you know, in this new world right now. Any words of advice for them to chase their dreams, and then if they face struggles, anything that you have learned maybe for them to be inspired?
Actually today, you know, if I look at the amount of resources out there, I can imagine many things that I would have wanted to do back then, but I don't, because we didn't have the internet. We had no idea what jobs were out there. Sometimes we were just there by accident. The reason why I know there's the first place and there's a proper job out there is because I was doing an admin part-time thing, and I realized, hey, there's this kind of, you know, I was doing the boy thing, right? This kind of officers out here, people dressing up nicely, and there's this kind of jobs.
Yeah, what do they do, Sia? And then you realize that they do a different kind of job.
Then you realize there's this corporate world out there. How come I didn't know this? My parents were public servants, so I was never exposed in that kind of environment. Also, you realize, hey, there's this thing. And then you realize, oh, wait, no, I can do this too. Right? So this is where I think exposures are far better today. Resources, you can go TikTok and you can tell you, oh, you know, today salaries in finance is ABC, how much I'm paying. Oh wow, this is really good. Why not, right? How you can, so that I've seen like TikTok interviews like, oh, how to ace into you know, top university or get a job, and how to ace an interview. And they're like, oh wow, okay, all these resources are there. Unless you have a friend or you by chance, you know, you found this kind of things. So the opportunities out there today are far much more than what we had. I have to say that. Two, I think especially for a country like Singapore, the networks the country has, and I see many, even professionals, even of your age, and they are much older than you. Your age, you are in demand in many places out there. I've seen professionals here getting poached in the Middle East, in Europe, in the US, and because of professionals, I mean, even Malaysia too. My sense is the opportunities are far more abundant
around the world.
And because we've got a pretty good education system, we've got a pretty recognized branding, don't miss out on all these opportunities. That is my ask. If you have any advice, yes, I said, you know, even in schools today, we have internships. In the old days, we have to like beg, you know, please take me. I remember a time when I had to do my internship overseas, university, we have to do our own, we'll reach out to the university website and then send to match subjects. Today it's quite common, people take, exchange, say, what, you know, how come you guys say it? So the times have changed. We had to take it really difficult in the old days, and the numbers were very small, so very few got the opportunity. Today, I think a lot of kids, and even I find kids I interview today, go internships in Europe or in the Middle East. I've seen some of them in China too. You're quite surprised because of the courses they had. So it's quite interesting how kids at all levels, they're all abilities, different opportunities that they've never had. But the only thing is that there's some perhaps looking to personal circumstances think that, oh, you know, I got to really earn money on the side, therefore they don't.
But this is where you have to start to think long term, but I do understand some short term that would be challenges. So these are things I would advise the younger generation. There's plenty of just go for it. There's a lot of stuff online as well. And today I hope that inspires them too. But what I think when we're doing different, especially for the Malay community in Singapore, we can talk about Mendaki. It used to be just education and movement along learning, but today we think there's even social capital. What talking about kids who come from low income families are not exposed, and now because they have a wider pool of professionals who are taking, and they would come back now to support these kids to expose them to new careers because they will not have
thought about it.
Some of these careers, and all of a sudden I now see kids in secondary school going for tuition programs. In the past, if you ask them, they give the study jobs like the police, civil defense, engineers and all that. But, and these are all good jobs. All good jobs, but what you want them to do is to think about, hey, actually there are also other jobs. So if you want to do this, great. But I've also got for new physiotherapists, UX designers, health professionals. Therefore, you widen it. Entrepreneurs as well, media, influencer. So you broaden that whole landscape, and then the kid now realize, actually, I'm not just bound by 3 things. I can choose among 10 things. I might say go back to the 3 things, but I have considered, and I have exposed to more things. So, but what's key is to see role model. So there's the element of what you see online when you do research, but for some of them, well, you don't strike them and they will not thinking long term. But if you bring and inject some of these, and professionals like yourselves can also mentor some of these less privileged kids, I think that makes a difference because you change the.
You show it's possible.
You show them it's possible.
And it's real.
I think that's one way to inspire others. I think a country, back to this small Singapore, we show us because then you can easily match up, maybe find some of these younger kids who come from such homes. It's not about just giving handouts, it's about social capital, investment and giving an inspiration. They now think actually this is possible and I work for it. So I met, there was another one where we took some of these young kids and we took them to see SI pilots. SI pilots. And sometimes they are playful at school and it's normal, so I was there too. But the pilots are actually, if you want to become a pilot, you must be good at maths and physics. Maths and science, because if you can't do physics, you can't fly a plane.
Of course not.
So basically the kids now, in their mind are thinking, they at school, if I do this cool thing called pilot,
excel in that.
Must excel in this. They work hard for it, as opposed to telling them, hey, this pass your maths. That's the what for?
No purpose,
right? But if I show them, hey, you have to do cool thing like, you can't fly, yes, do this. Then the ones want to become, I think the motivation level changes because now you aim towards something. And these are, I think, the key inspirations for me why we do what we do. In the sense that you want to see people prosper, you want to see community prosper, you want to see kids uplifted, and this is something we hope that many others will also walk in this path.
Something really close to my heart actually, because we're working with 10 Square. 10 Square work with youths, where there's a need, family. I myself on the Timber Music Academy, we work with Petatis.
Oh, nice.
Working with the girls at the Women's Center, giving them music, and we use songwriting. It's a way for them to express themselves. So it's very, what's the word, cathartic? It's
therapeutic also,
therapeutic. So we are talking with our friends in Jamia to create some stuff. And you yourself is with Mendaki, you're chairman of Mendaki.
Deputy chairman,
right? I understand. The point is, many hats, Nick. Can you imagine that? Doing Minister of Manpower, doing defense.
Your closet just for hats.
As a father. What's one of the secrets as we are inching towards the end of this podcast? There's so many things happening. I call this slashy. I got a friend, my co-partner in Timber Music Academy. He has an app called Slashy, where we have slashes in our job scope.
Really?
So it's a mentoring app, it's a wonderful app. But you're an obvious slashy right here.
Really?
Yeah, because you're a dad, you're doing politics and many divisions.
Like a horror movie or something.
It's not that cute actually.
Yeah.
But and a very calm demeanor,
Yeah.
right? You understand? Anything you can share for people who aspire to be like yourselves? I would want to learn that.
I think it's about, you talk about personal legend, it's really about being true to yourself. To me, the worry I always had coming into politics is whether you will end up being yourself or not yourself. And that I think would have driven me nuts. But yes, there has been some changes. I told my friends to say, hey, don't joke anymore. So you don't know, it's like you're politics, you're not politics. Very hard.
But your conscience,
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's about, yes, the changes to lifestyle, changes to what we can do. It's a lot more serious to do. But the reality is, I think, if you want to keep at it, I suppose you want to enjoy what you do and do well at it. I think you have to really find your true north, and that basically means you have to find peace, be at peace with what you do, and really find that this is something you're prepared to do. So to me, there's a I don't describe it in English, but there's a Malay saying that says that you're like a carrot that burns itself brighter than everyone else. That is how I see myself. And that is, there's an image in mind in terms of personal legend.
you aspire.
That is it, to sort of, I hope it's not really literally burn yourself. But you want to,
Of course. Sometimes we want to help others too much.
before you hear, burn yourself to
I understand what you're
light
saying.
up others.
Of course.
My goodness. Nick, any last words, man?
Wow.
Last words.
Being in politics and stuff like that, you said that you wanted to still follow your vision and still be yourself and not let it change you or anything like that. Like how do you find that inner voice that guides you through and keeps you centered on your path? Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I think it's quite personal for me, maybe. Yeah, you want to learn that as well. Good one, man.
Wow. Often there,
Inner voice.
Inner voice, you call it peace. I'm still at the stage where I'm still taking in inputs, taking experiences, still learning. There's still a lot to be done because every day we come across different situations. So it's not about the inner voice yet. I'm not reaching karma or nirvana as you want to call it. No yet. But I think it's about for now. I think just being true to myself is good, and being true to the people you serve.
Short and simple. I think he keeps harping back on being true, being authentic. So those are some takeaways that we can all really learn onto this podcast with our dear alchemist, Mr Zaqy. So last ones before we end our wonderful podcast, first ever, many more episodes coming up. We got a really wonderful guest, but for today, before we end each podcast, since it was inspired by a book, we would like to end up with a book too. And I will always ask my upcoming guest as well, for now, Mr Zaqy, a book for you to recommend for us to pass over to the next guest.
Why don't you start with the book first? The Alchemist.
So I'll start that off, right?
You should start it off with this one.
So I got the Alchemist done already. So for you, is there any book other than the Alchemist that maybe you would like to share? Or maybe I would want to also read? Me and Nick always exchange books. It's one thing that we always do. I'm not too sure whether it's cool or not, but I think it's cool. I think it's alright, and this is our spirit of learning. This is our version of spirit of learning. We are just modern age guys, rock and roll, but we really exchange books, we talk about books, we learn them. Because I think I can see it's a reader. Any book that maybe you want to recommend for me and we'll get it. Why the books?
So one book that I picked up was recently, and I've been reading still, it's supposed to be holiday reading, but I never got it done. I do holiday reading, so it's like a couple of chapters down, stuff. The company was very much. I thought it was interesting because we talk about AI, how AI is changing the world. And to me, my sense is it's not about theory. I think we talk about that. How you utilize it, embrace it, and use it to work smarter. And to me, the idea of looking forward, really how it changes opportunities, workforce, how you become more effective. Of course, challenges to our economy too, how that impacts us. And this is something that's quite current. And to me, it's something that maybe leaders want to pick up. It's not as spiritual as
it's good in its own sense. Right.
That's like
it's
a
very
new digital tech.
Spirit of learning. Right.
Yes. And to me, although I was an engineering graduate and I did financial engineering, but this is something that we have to continuously learn, because 3 years ago, what we learned is how we learn. So the concepts, principles are still there, but I think ultimately there's something I have time to learn as well. Try to learn coding, I'm out of it for a while.
Understand.
To learn some of these new things, new concepts.
Something really up Nicholas' alley, because he's forming up a company called AI Genesis.
Yes, you mentioned.
Right, so it's more like if I may explain
Sure,
it
of
in a
course.
nutshell, right? It's like a directory of all the AI solutions for businesses, for industries, so for finance, accounts, for music side. So I've been working with him for me, because I have my own academy, music academy, and sometimes our accounts team or myself even we do our accounts. It does have its old traditional way of working. Where right now, as Nick showed me, using Airtable, using all these
a lot of tools,
AI tools, I can just put it on my phone, my calendar. Okay, imagine he's my student, right? Okay, Nick, come in. Second lesson, from recording it into the invoices, from recording it into the payment system. It's just on that one thing. So Nick has been helping me out a lot through.
Is that your app, or is that something that?
We leverage existing softwares and tools, right? And we help businesses to integrate them to help improve efficiency, reduce costs, and generate more leads.
Because sometimes some companies we want to create custom, right?
Yes, of course.
But
down the
for
line.
Nick, is always things are already there and it's already mind blowing.
Yeah.
But how to use that?
Of course.
Yes.
So that's where AI Genesis fits that niche.
Yeah.
Yes.
They use, they apply executively, and I myself as a user, because we are good friends, right? So we're testing things out. So we're always we wear a different hat, Nick. Okay, I'm a client now.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, I'm tired of doing, and I literally do the role play.
And I can imagine that you can also figure out have a better sense in terms of your customer trends.
Yeah, it's very important to, I think right now, the way industry is heading, I'm sure it's also mentioned in the book, is having more of for businesses, a more 360-degree view of the customer. Because previously, before, let's say they write a review or you send you send surveys out or whatever, you have to read through and you compile, and then it's a lot to go through. But with AI, I can read for you and summarize, let's say 235 people have mentioned this, they mentioned that, and then it seems like the majority wants this or that. It presents in a much more palatable way. It's a lot faster and it's less prone to human error. So it's literally just because AI is so new, it's about finding certain areas and how to integrate it into businesses. Some might want more customized solutions and some are happy with MVP solutions, but I think the number one most important thing is that it works and that it can integrate with existing systems like that. And
Like creating APIs. So I'm learning a lot together with Nick. We tried to make it into the real world, so that's why I did it in my accounts, finance. And so it's just...
Hey, I have a suggestion for you. Maybe the next show. Apart from just giving the book to this guy, you got to give him the next app. You should try.
You try that. So definitely, we really want to just share about our spirit of learning. I think this is ultimately the ground, the most foundation, which is we are trying to explore new ways, new solutions, and new conversations towards a better future. Mr. Zaqy, what a wonderful chat session, chilling out. I really appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and Nicholas. We really want to thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We wish you the best, and we really
Same to you
hope
guys as well.
that you carry on shining your light in your personal legend, helping out, and know that we are very proud of you.
Thank you.
And we're just very glad to show a different side of Mr. Zaqy,
Thank you, guys.
as well as all the other alchemists that's going to be seated over here. Guys, thank you so much. Awi Rafael, Nicholas, Mr. Zaqy, Alchemist Podcast. Bye-bye.